The reason it's dangerous now for the Warriors, you got to keep your eye on the Celtics if they get out of the East, is Kyrie is crewed up. Kyrie has enough. There's enough, like what Michelangelo said about a sculpture, right? Wasn't it? Michelangelo said, if there's a sculpture in every slab of clay, you just got to find it like a great piece of. There is in this Celtics team. You can't say it about every NBA team. In this Celtics team, there's a championship team somewhere, right? Coach, everyone's got to find it in there, but it's in there somewhere. They have that much talent. Kyrie is crewed up. If they can get this together, then what I'm saying is he now has the talent to put him in a position where against Golden State, the money will actually be on the line. And under those circumstances, I'd rather have him than Steph or KD or anyone on either team. That could be a problem.
Sometimes Max annoys me with some of his takes. And the reason why is because, you know, you can't avoid certain things. Gordon Hayward's a problem. That's what I take away from this game. This guy went 0 for 5 from the field. There are 20-plus occasions this year, Mike Greenberg and Max Kellerman, where this dude hasn't scored in double figures. 20-plus. I thought John Berry said something like 31 times he scored 9 points or less in the game this year. I'm not sure if it was that many, but it was clearly over 20 to 22 times that he has scored 9 points or less. His presence on this team, and I want to make sure that because I'm not calling him out. Nasty injury. I'm proud of him just to be back, healthy enough to play and to be on an NBA court and what have you. But it's one of those situations where you got to, first of all, he was in the start lineup. He shouldn't have been starting. Then Brad Stevens relegated him to the bench. I'm at a point right now where I'm wondering how much he should play at all because of the negative impact it appears to have had on Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, to a lesser degree, Terry Rozier. You've got guys that were balling out. And I don't want to hear this stuff about Kyrie was, you know, he didn't play in the postseason either. He was balling last year prior to getting hurt right before the playoffs. He didn't go down in the first 5 minutes of his career as a Boston Celtic. And so to me, Kyrie, despite the fact that he was hurt prior to the postseason, put on display who he was, what an upgrade it was from Isaiah Thomas, what he brings to the table and what have you with this collective bunch. Gordon Hayward not only hasn't proven that because of the obvious injury, he didn't get a chance to with just 5 minutes, but he clearly is nowhere near the player that he once was. We have a quote from the Golden State Warriors, an anonymous Golden State Warriors player, talking reportedly, Gordon Hayward is holding the team back. They're not the same team with Gordon. Listen, Gordon Hayward is not Gordon Hayward right now. He's hurting them. He's a liability on both ends of the court. That is an opposing player. They don't say stuff. You know, it's very rare. Think about it. Think about the age we're living in, social media and beyond, Max. You don't hear players, even anonymously, say something like that about a player. And they know it's because of his health. They understand it, so they're not disrespecting him. But they're saying, look, we know he can't move. We know he can't run. And when they're on the court, they are slower with him. Danny Ainge and Brad Stevens want him in there. That ain't the way to go.
About Gordon Hayward. I see it, too. Both ends of the floor. I see what you mean. I see what everyone sees the same thing. Do you believe he can get it back this season? You think, no. So it's not just he needs his basketball legs to you.
To me, that injury, because I was there courtside when it happened, that injury was so nasty. I'm proud of him for being back on the NBA court. He ain't ready to run with those thoroughbreds to the degree that we saw Boston playing in the postseason prior to running into LeBron. And after LeBron had swept the Toronto Raptors, Boston pushed them to 7 games. They were going back and forth with these brothers because they were long, they were athletic, they could defend, they could shoot perimeter shots, and they could run. They cannot do that with Gordon Hayward. They cannot do that with him. The shame of it
for Boston is that's the kind of player Hayward is. He can get out in the open floor. He doesn't need the ball to be effective. He can play defense. He can score in transition, and he can pass the ball. If he's not doing those things on a high enough level, you're going to have to go to something else. But what I'm saying is they got other things.
He's going to be fine next season, not right now. And you're saying they got other things.
Yeah.
But that's why I'm bringing him up. Because if this, and I'm just going to say it as respectfully as I possibly can. If this were another player, this wouldn't be an issue.
Brad Stevens.
His behind would be sitting on the bench. The man played for Brad Stevens. He took Butler to a national championship.
But let me tell you why that's
Danny Ainge hired Butler. They know basketball. They love him, but they love you. I've seen it in all my years coaching the NBA. I've seen it. You have coaches. There's certain players they love so much. It's hard for them to do what they normally would do.
But let me tell you why that's
what's going on with Gordon
not
Hayward.
The bigger story here. Because if you believe the Celtics have other stuff there, I mean, they got to the conference finals without Hayward or Kyrie, then you know they can downshift or maybe upshift, right, into giving Jaylen Brown more minutes, who then feel more comfortable playing well because he doesn't have to look over his shoulder at Gordon Hayward, or obviously Tatum, who looked like you could run an offense for a championship team through him last year. The reason Kyrie is the bigger story is, do you not know what I mean? In crunch time, both teams, KD, Steph, Clay, everyone, who do you want with the ball in his hands? Who's the best player with the ball in his hands at the end of a close game in the playoffs? I'm saying it's Kyrie Irving.
You're talking about something very transparent in my mind. Everybody knows how nasty Kyrie Irving is. What we're not paying enough attention to, which is why I think it's the biggest story, is that I think the greatness of Brad Stevens and the greatness of Danny Ainge is compromised by their affection for a particular individual.
You think it's going to tank the team?
No. I don't think that. I'm not accusing them of that. I'm just saying whose presence affects them in such a way. If you're a player, you know it. And the presence alone, it's one thing for him not to be available, but it's another thing for him to be available, but not quite as good. Those players are affected by it, man.
If you're the Warriors, let me tell you, so I understand what you mean. I agree. I think they'll figure that out. If I'm on the Warriors right now, I'm thinking, I hope we don't see these dudes, because these dudes, they're talented everywhere. And if we're in a tight game, they got the best player on the floor.
They probably have the best chance of anybody to beat Golden State.